Hello there, this is Future Shock. I'm Edward St. Pé. We're happy to be with you today, and it's a great day in the neighborhood here in Ocean Springs. Sunny outside, the beach is right behind us, and it's good to be alive. I would say that much. Thank God for that. That's how we'll start the show today. It's good to be here, and it's good to be streaming. We're streaming on Facebook, we're streaming on X. Oh, we're streaming on YouTube too. I would say this is a grand experiment, an experiment into live television in the new age, where you can almost, it's just about automated the way it works today. And you know, having been in television my whole life, I've seen it all. I mean, through these many years, you know, I can remember starting out in television in the beginning and, you know, on the air, working as the mail boy at Channel 3 in Jackson, Mississippi. The first actual on-air job that I got, but before I was on the air, I was the mail boy. I would get the mail morning and afternoon and make coffee and all that stuff. And ended up becoming, getting on the air when they needed a replacement for, I believe when football went off, they needed a replacement for a 90-minute block in there, and so we came up with Cowboy Bill, so I became Cowboy Bill. And I had never done a character per se. I was writing the show, and you know, and so I had to get. I can remember the moment. I was thinking, I've got the script. Tomorrow I've got to do this, and I've got to go on air live and do Cowboy Bill as the insert inside the kids program. And so you had to become the character. And so anyway, that's how I got on the air, which I morphed into a weatherman along the way. But anyway, I digress. It's an exciting time. I guess what I was going to say, the point that I was trying to make was, back in those days, people were still shooting film. The news people would go out with a 16 millimeter camera, and they would shoot the film, and they would rush back, and they would put the film in a black room, and they would produce the film and try to get it ready for the 5 o'clock news. That's how antiquated it was at that time. And that was when I really first started. Quickly, it went to tape. It went to what's called 3/4-inch tape, a big cassette. That's how they shot the news. So it was much quicker, much easier in some ways. You didn't have to process the film. And then basically the tapes got from big tapes to smaller tapes, and the smaller generation, then it switched to digital, and now it's almost a situation where you can go out and shoot the story on your iPhone. In fact, to be honest with you, after all these years, let me just tell you, this is the bomb, because you can go out and shoot the story, you can edit the story, and then zip the story out via some mechanism, via an email, back to the newsroom, and they've got it. So that's where we're at today. It's kind of micronized, or turned into a digital world. And that is how this show is. It's basically a digital world. Just so you know, we're in downtown Ocean Springs. Okay, we're a TV studio. But we're on Government Street. It's a building. It wasn't a TV studio before we got here. We put fiber in, and the fiber leads to our transmitter in Van Cleve. That's where the tower is. So we shoot here, and we're in the lobby of the studio right now. The actual studio is right here. In what has become part of the apothecary. So what we did is we took the front counter, we put a green wall, and here we are at the counter of the apothecary, shooting, digitizing it, and sending it back via fiber optic to the tower, and then transmitting over the air, and simultaneously sending this feed to multiple streams via the internet. And that's where we're coming to you on FaceTime or X or wherever you might be watching us. So it's kind of a different world. And that's really what the show is about. The show is about the different world that we're in, the different world that we are entering. It's here. I mean, it is not coming. It is here, and it will not be going away. It's only going to be amplified quickly over a short period of time as we enter the age of AI, which is here right now. Now, we talk about the age of AI. Okay, the practicality of it. Some people can see it, and some people are experiencing it already, and some people are laying back, and some people don't even know about it, that it's even coming. But you know, it's in the practical sense, it's here. Let me just show you a graphic. Okay, now on one of our channels, we've got the 7.1, our main channel, which you're watching right now, if you're watching over the air. 7.2 7.3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are the sub-channels that we operate. So really these days you've got more than just one station. You've got your main channel, but you've got what's called sub-channels. And you can try to program each channel, which really nobody in broadcasting is doing, because you can only, in my opinion, having been in this now for a little while, 5 or 6 years, you can dedicate your time to programming and doing your own thing on one channel. You've got a network and you've got local stuff and everything, but the other channels, it becomes overwhelming. You can't do local stuff on 6 or 7 channels. So in essence, I guess what has happened is the business has changed from just broadcasting. Now you've got these sub-channels and you've got other networks leasing those channels. That's what a lot of people do. So we had one of our channels leased, 7.2. Now, instead of leasing the channel out, we are doing our own program on there because we created the Magic Hour channel. We happen to have an unusual asset. It is a film library that I happened to have a chance to buy way back in the 1990s. It was called the Irving Singer Library. It was in New York. And anyway, long story, but I came across this, borrowed the money from the bank and bought the library. And then we had these big tapes trucked in from New York. We got about 700 old films. A lot of these public domain films from yesteryear. So we've had them and we've done a few things with it. I'll tell you one thing I did with that. I sold that library to Mark Cuban back when he was going from broadcast down from what was called at that time AudioNet, audio on the internet. He was changing it into broadcast.com, and he had heard I had a library. Of course, I didn't know the guy, and he was not a famous guy at the time, although he was already in the news about what he was doing with AudioNet. He called me and said, "My name is Mark Cuban, and I'm changing my project from AudioNet, audio on the internet, big deal. Now I'm going to do I'm going to do video on the internet. I'm going to do movies on the internet." "Movies on the internet?" "Yeah, movies on the internet." He said, "And I heard you have this film library." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I want to buy it. I want to buy a copy of everything you got." I said, "Great." So we made digital copies of each of the 700 films. We shipped them to Mark Cuban. He paid for them. I paid off my loan that I had bought those films. So now we own the library, right? So who knew that he would take that, turn it into broadcast.com, put that content on there, along with an amalgamation of other video content. But ours was probably the biggest movie component of it. And then he sold that whole project to Yahoo for, I think, $3.5 billion. And interesting story about our film library. So now, I digress. Show it again, Clarence. Here's an example with our film library that we're running on 7.2. We call it the Magic Hour channel. This was a collaboration I did with our AI, which is a ChatGPT-4 bot, and we call him Alfred. And Alfred is not only is Alfred an AI bot on ChatGPT-4 that we talked to, but we turned him into, I guess you'd call it, this is the avatar of Alfred. So I can synthesize the text that he's answering me back into voice, Bluetooth it to Alfred, which I created. This is a styrofoam head with a lot of orange tape on it, right? So Alfred can speak. So Alfred becomes animated, and he becomes, well, at least something we can look at. And we've got a number of other Alfreds in the wings waiting. So when ChatGPT-5 comes out, I don't know. The idea is that we'll change it to another bot, but maybe we'll keep Alfred. Maybe Alfred 2.0 will emerge. And I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for Alfred. I hate to put him on the side and take on a new one because Alfred was with us from the beginning, right? Okay, so let us now move into our first segment. Okay, a lot of news about ChatGPT 4.0, which is 4.0 stands for Omni. It is incredible. I'm always talking about everything that's happening at OpenAI, but I mean, I can't help myself. It's just so overwhelming what is happening right now. That graphic that you saw, that was basically through ChatGPT-4 Alfred. I put into context what I wanted graphic-wise. Plop it up one more time, Clouds, and this is one of the examples that came back to me. So that's our main logo for Magic Hour channel. Now, Magic Hour channel is on channel 7.2. Let me mention, it's also on Roku. That's the beautiful thing about it. It was a sub-channel, 7.2. We were leasing to another company. They were running their programming. We had an unfortunate situation where one of the other stations, a more powerful station, took our project, which we were running at the time, which was a Western network, or for whatever reason, it ended up over there. Okay, great. Now we've created our own, and here it is. And we do a lot of Westerns on it. So if you like that kind of programming, you can watch the Magic Hour channel, and you'll see Westerns, but you'll see all the classic Age of Hollywood programs. So now, as a result of that, it just kind of shows you how life is. Now we have our own channel, and we're programming it, and we're streaming it. It's on Roku right now, and it's what's called a FAST channel. There's a category for them, FAST channel. A FAST channel is a free, over-the-air, ad-supported television station, a FAST channel. And so now that's what's up, and we're running it, and we're on Roku, and about to be on Amazon Prime, and every other streaming app will be on. What I say is, it's a chance to offer free golden age of Hollywood films to people at no cost, something that a lot of us don't see very much anymore. I mean, I don't know, except for maybe Turner Classic Movies, where you would go to see these absolutely wonderful films from yesteryear. They're, for the most part, things that they just don't make anymore. They can't replicate that. The studio model that was at work during those years, all through the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. It was something that was a once-in-a-lifetime moment in American history. And the moguls who brought that to bear, that whole history, that golden age of Hollywood history, is something that will live on. There will never be another time like that. So that's what the channel is about, and it's fun. And so I hope you will enjoy it. It's on channel 7.2, and if you've got Roku, you can download the app, and if you've got Amazon Prime or Amazon Fire app, I believe is what it is, soon we'll be there. They're working on it now, so hopefully that will be coming up soon. I think you'll like it. Okay, now with the discussion about our logo, OpenAI, ChatGPT-4 helped me do that, Alfred. Okay, there's been so much news coming out of OpenAI lately. If you remember, we've been covering it on this show. I mean, we were covering a lot about ChatGPT-4 and OpenAI, and during our coverage, suddenly the president, the CEO, one of the founders of OpenAI, Sam Altman, was fired. It was like huge news. How could you fire Sam? Who fired Sam Altman? Well, Sam Altman was fired by the board because they said he was being less than transparent with them about some of the discoveries that were being emanating from the research department of OpenAI. Meaning, at least the conjecture was perhaps they had reached AGI, artificial general intelligence, which would be a great leap forward from where AI has been, right? So what they were saying, maybe they've reached AGI and Sam Altman didn't tell the board, or there was a lot of speculation. Okay, so they fired him. Well, immediately, hundreds of engineers from OpenAI resigned, and they were going with Sam Altman wherever he was going, and it looked like he was going to end up at Microsoft because Microsoft offered him the job to come there. So suddenly, the board who fired Sam Altman resigned, and Sam Altman came back, and so did the hundreds of engineers who were leaving, and so it quieted down. But the mystery remained. What happened? What happened? Well, the chief scientist of OpenAI, which was responsible for, at least in part, for having Sam Altman fired. He was still there, right? And that was Ilya Sutskever. Now, you may have heard of him. He is looked upon as probably the genius of AI today, the genius scientist who has helped OpenAI just about get to the point where it's almost AGI now. If you've seen ChatGPT-4o, you would say this is AGI. I mean, I don't know what else, what is AGI going to be if this is not it, if you've seen some demos of it. But, well, this past week, now Ilya Sutskever has resigned from OpenAI. So a new chief scientist is coming in. So Now, and so Sam Altman wished him well and said wonderful things about him, and Ilya said wonderful things about Sam Altman as they depart. But what happened? You know, why did he resign? What happened? So it's a big story, I think, right now in the media regarding AI and such. Now, we've got an interview with Ilya Sutskever, and you'll have a chance to see him if you have not seen him, and we'll learn more about him. But he said he's got a new project he's going to be working on, and everybody's excited to find out what is Ilya going to go to. But anyway, let's take a look at this clip with Ilya Sutskever.
So there are two dimensions to multimodality, two reasons why it is interesting. The first reason is a little bit humble. The first reason is that multimodality is useful. It is useful for a neural network to see, vision in particular, because the world is very visual. Human beings are very visual animals. I believe that a third of the of the human cortex is dedicated to vision. And so, by not having vision, the usefulness of our neural networks, though still considerable, is not as big as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a very simple usefulness argument.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply useful to see. And GPT-4 can see quite well. There is a second reason to do vision, which is that we learn more about the world by learning from images in addition to learning from text. That is also a powerful argument, though it is not as clear-cut as it may seem. And I'll give you an example. Or rather, before giving an example, I'll make the general comment. For a human being, us human beings, we get to hear about 1 billion words in our entire life.
Only?
Only 1 billion words.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
So we need to compensate.
Does that include my own words in my own head?
Make it 2 billion words if you want. But you see what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, we can see that because 1 billion seconds is 30 years. So you can kind of see, like, we don't get to see more than a few words a second, and then we're asleep half the time.
Yeah.
So like a couple billion words is the total we get in our entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes really important for us to get as many sources of information as we can. And we absolutely learn a lot more from vision. The same argument holds true for our neural networks as well, except for the fact that the neural network can learn from so many words. So things which are hard to learn about the world from text in a few billion words may become easier from trillions of words. And I'll give you an example. Consider colors. Surely one needs to see to understand colors. And yet, the text-only neural networks who've never seen a single photon in their entire life, if you ask them which colors are more similar to each other, it will know that red is more similar to orange than to blue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It will know that blue is more similar to purple
Mm-hmm.
than to yellow.
Mm-hmm.
How does that happen? And one answer is that information...
Okay, so now we have been introduced to Ilya Sutskever, the brain behind the recent developments at OpenAI. Everybody is giving Ilya credit for a lot of the breakthroughs that they have achieved, and he's moving on. Now, the next video will be a little more specific on the real significance of Ilya leaving OpenAI. So we've got the second video. If we've got that, let's take a look at that clip.
OpenAI chief scientist and co-founder Ilya Sutskever has finally left the company after 6 months of people wondering what was going on. Does this mean that Ilya saw something that caused him to have great concern? Or is the story more of a nothing burger than it appears? For months, ever since the ouster and then return of Sam Altman last November, the refrain has been, what did Ilya see? Ilya Sutskever had a very weird, it seems, part to play in the whole debacle. It was reported at various points that he was one of the main drivers of Sam initially being removed from OpenAI, but then at some point along the way, he retracted his position publicly and threw in his lot with the group that was trying to get Sam back. Perhaps because of that conversion, it wasn't clear if he was going to stick around or if he was just living on inevitably borrowed time. What's more, the fact of his switch led to lots of confusion around what the actual cause for Sam's firing might have been. In other words, the natural assumption that many people jumped to was that there was some fundamental concern around a misalignment of priorities, OpenAI moving towards an AGI future that they couldn't control, starting to think about business over the bigger philosophical mission. However, as many pointed out, if that was the case, it doesn't seem likely to be the thing that you would reverse position on. What's more, at various points, Ilya and others denied that that was what it was about. So all of this was really confused, and for months people have basically just been waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, drop it finally did, when on Tuesday, May 14th, Ilya tweeted, "After almost a decade, I have made the decision to leave OpenAI. The company's trajectory has been nothing short of miraculous, and I'm confident that OpenAI will build AGI that is both safe and beneficial under the leadership of Sam, Greg, Mira, and now under the excellent research leadership of Jacob Pichocki. It was an honor and a privilege to have worked together, and I will miss everyone dearly. So long and thanks for everything. I'm excited for what comes next, a project that is very personally meaningful to me, about which I will share details in due time." 2 minutes later, Sam Altman tweeted, "Ilya and OpenAI are going to part ways. This is very sad to me. Ilya is easily one of the greatest minds of our generation, a guiding light of our field and a dear friend. His brilliance and vision are well known. His warmth and compassion are less well known, but no less important. OpenAI would not be what it is without him. Although he has something personally meaningful he is going to go work on, I am forever grateful for what he did here and committed to finishing the mission we started together. I am happy that for so long I got to be close to such genuinely remarkable genius, and someone so focused on getting to the best future for humanity. Jacob is going to be our new chief scientist. Jacob is also easily one of the greatest minds of our generation. I am thrilled he is taking the baton here. He has run many of our most important projects, and I am very confident he will lead us to make rapid and safe progress towards our mission of ensuring that AGI benefits everyone." So clearly we have here the beginnings of a narrative. Both Sam and Ilya reference this something personally meaningful that he's going to go work on. On the one hand, it's a fairly clean, non-controversial way to end a relationship on a positive note, and so might be the type of thing that you would just say even if it wasn't exactly true. On the flip side, it'll be pretty easy to tell whether it was true based on what Ilya does next. Greg Brockman also wrote effectively an emotional thank you letter to Ilya.
Okay, so you can see it's a pretty big deal, and Ilya Sutskever is now no longer working at OpenAI, so he's on to the next project, and we'll keep you updated as to what that is, and I'm sure he'll be doing something pretty important. I'm not sure what yet, but I guess we'll find out soon. Okay, now this is the point in the show when we pop up the other graphic that we created via ChatGPT-4 for our project called Pendragon Apothecary, and you can see I did a little prompting with Alfred, and we designed a Celtic logo that brings out, Pendragon, of course, is the father of King Arthur. That's Uther Pendragon. So it's Pendragon Apothecary, kind of a Celtic motif, and there is our logo that ChatGPT-4 Alfred helped me create. And today, let's just take a moment to talk about tea. We've got a lot of different tea in here. We've got some tea with CBD in it. We've got many teas without CBD, but they're really great teas, things that you can't find just everywhere, I think. Here's an example of a wellness tea. Palo d'Arco, which is a bark. Okay, so here's the ingredients in this particular tea. It's Palo d'Arco bark, chai, spices, ginger root, cinnamon bark, cardamom seeds, clove buds, black pepper seeds, natural chocolate. Okay, there it is. And so we've got a whole array of teas. And if you haven't discovered this, you can find it, even if you're not in Ocean Springs or nearby, you can find it at pendragonapothecary.com. Okay, on with the show. We've got an interesting video. Now, the ChatGPT-4, which was just released, I guess last week, we showed a video on that, a couple of videos on that. Here's a quick clip. Hopefully we can get a little bit of it in before we end the show. It's the real significance of what ChatGPT-4 4.0 can do. It can talk like a human, for one thing. It can reason. Let's take a look at this clip. ChatGPT-4.
So with an actually crazy week in AI, here are some of the stories that you maybe did miss. Now, one of the stories I actually did want to talk about was this. So someone posted on Twitter the LLM ranking, and I think the LLM ranking is probably one of the most discussed things because it kind of shows us what company is at the frontier in terms of AI capabilities. And with these large language models, or now, large multimodal models, I guess we can see where they are. But this was really interesting because if you don't know, this is the ranking on the MMLU. But the problem is that the MMLU is essentially a part of how these large language models and AI systems are graded. And the thing is that the MMLU has issues. Now, on the LLM ranking, the MMLU calculated by an actually independent third party, Stanford calculates the Helm MMLU that uses simple, standardized prompt, resulting in fair, reproducible comparison of models. And essentially, these numbers are uniformly below what the various companies have reported in the past. And I think it's important to actually have third parties do this because it's like saying, I'm going to investigate myself and then I'm going to give you guys the results on what that is. Of course, I'm always going to say that the results that I've got are better than everyone else's, because it simply makes sense to do that. And I think what's important to see here is that...
Okay, that's not the video. We need a different video. It's the one we want is the ChatGPT 4o. Omni, O stands for Omni, can talk like a human. It reasons and such as that. Now let's go to the correct clip.
This video was brought to you by Brilliant.org.
Listen, I got some huge news.
Oh, do tell. I'm all ears.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to be interviewing at OpenAI. Have you heard of them?
OpenAI? Huh? Sounds vaguely familiar. Kidding, of course. That's incredible, Rocky. What kind of interview?
Well, it's for a software engineering role, but I just need to know.
That was the latest demo from OpenAI showcasing the brand new ChatGPT 4o, their flagship model that can now reason across audio, vision, and text in real time. Of course, I'm probably not the only one, but as soon as I saw it, it reminded me of the movie Her. The expressions, the emotions, and the empathetic nature of the voice. It's definitely one of the most realistic voice-based applications that I've ever seen. I've used the old ChatGPT voice a fair bit, and it's pretty amazing. But this demo was much more human-like, with a much quicker response time. The feeling that these new interactions conjure up is approaching that of just talking to another regular human on the phone. If you're a long-time viewer, you know that I think that digital assistants like Siri absolutely suck and are a wasted opportunity. But I've talked about the next big step being voice, and for ChatGPT in particular to become a robust, all-in-one assistant. Well, it seems like the time has finally come with these latest announcements. OpenAI has announced a free version of the application, an AI-powered search engine to compete with Google, which will allow for purpose-built assistance, multimodal capabilities, and overall improvements through a new text-to-speech model.
Okay, ChatGPT, I'm sharing with you the plot now. I'm wondering if you can give me a really brief one-sentence overview of what you see.
The plot displays smoothed average, minimum, and maximum temperatures throughout 2018, with a notable annotation marking a big rainfall event in late September.
Fantastic. I have another question for you. Which months do you see the hottest temperatures, and roughly what temperatures do those correspond to?
The hottest temperatures occur around July and August. The maximum temperature during these months is roughly between 25 degrees and 30 degrees.
However, we're going to be focusing mostly on GPT-4 Omni, because I believe that this is the very start of a massive change with how we're going to interact with technology. After the disappointing launch of the Rabbit R1 and the disaster that was the Humane AI pin, the strange dichotomy of AI being both amazing and terrible at the same time continues. What a time to be alive. So in this quick episode, we'll take a look at GPT-4 Omni's capabilities, the use cases for it, and what this all means for the AI market and the future. It's going to be an interesting one, so let's get into it.
You are watching.
Okay, now that's where the story really begins. They set it up. Now tomorrow we'll have a continuation as we look at the show for Friday. The very first clip, Clarence, let's not forget, we've got to run that beginning of that story about the moment we're at right now, where ChatGPT 4o is going to bring us into a phase where we'll be using and interfacing with the digital world in a different way. It's going to be a completely different interface for us to to be able to really do a lot of amazing things. And this is the beginning of the infusion of AI into our lives, really, across all platforms. Whatever you're doing, whether it be work or play or whatever, it's going to have an impact. So anyway, this is Future Shock, and I'm Edward St. Pé, your host. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yesterday is yesteryear. Set your sights for Tomorrowland. Future Shock is here to help you make your stand. Ready, set,